Before we get started with this episode, I have a few requests. Download the Talk Music Talk app. It is free for iPhone and Android, wherever you get your apps, or you can subscribe on iTunes or Google Play. Once you do, just leave a rating and or review in the store to help spread the word about the podcast. Second, share this episode on social media if you enjoy it. Facebook, Twitter, however you like to do it. It will help spread the word about the podcast. And finally, I am in the process of acquiring advertisers and sponsors, and I need your help. Just take a quick survey on my website at talkmusictalk.com/survey. Should take you 30 seconds or less, and it would be greatly appreciated. And now for today's show. Hello there. Welcome to episode 118 of Talk Music Talk with Boyce. I am Boyce. I am your podcasting host. For the first-time listener, Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people who are connected to music from different genres and different backgrounds, emerging, established, singers, songwriters, musicians, music therapists, music journalists. And on episode 118, I had the wonderful, wonderful pleasure of speaking to Half Waif. It is the solo project of Nandi Rose Plunkett. She is a singer, songwriter, musician, producer, and she has made, in my opinion, the first great album of 2017. It's called Forma. It is a 6-song EP, and it is absolutely stunning. Follows up on 2 previous EPs and 2 albums, including 2016's Probable Deaths, which I also recommend that. We talk about a lot in our conversation. We talk about growing up in Williamstown, Massachusetts, based in New York now. We go into what it was like growing up there. Her first instrument was a piano. Eventually, she attended Kent State for music. We also talk about her songwriting process from her first band when she was 9 years old to now when she has learned to be more direct in her lyrics and revealing more of herself in her music. We also go into her influences, the making of Forma, and why she calls her music mood ring pop. After this great conversation, you will hear 2 songs from Forma. The first single, which is Frostburn, and then Night Heat, 2 of my favorite songs from Forma, right after the conversation. But here it is, without further ado, my interview with Nandi Rose Plunkett, Half Waif. Enjoy. You went to a writing retreat in Massachusetts?
Yes, it was self-imposed writing exile.
Well, did you need this?
Yeah, I felt like I needed it. Really what I was trying to do was kind of recreate this space that I had when I was growing up, which was I would write in the living room in my childhood home, and I was alone, and I was kind of a lonely kid, but my songs really came from this place of solitude, and I knew who I was in that space. Like I understood the inner me because everything else was stillness and quiet. And fast forward years later, I'm very happy to say that I'm in a strong partnership, and I live with my partner, and I've been living in Brooklyn, surrounded by lots of people and excitement. But as a result, I was noticing this part of me kind of shrinking and disappearing, and I really wanted to get back in touch with who she was and the way that she wrote and the way that she thought about the world. So, yeah, I kind of forced myself out of the city and away from home. It was only a week, but even that was significant. And kind of what I realized was I can't really recreate that. That part of me has evolved and developed, as it should, but I don't write from the same place anymore. My influences have changed, and, I really honor and cherish that younger self that developed in that place of solitude, but I've sort of moved on from that. So while I did write a lot up there, it wasn't, it didn't feel like recapturing anything. It felt like really the next step.
Did you have like half stuff written or ideas that you were taking with you, or just from scratch?
Nothing really that I took with me. It's interesting though, by the end of the week, I was kind of plagued with self-doubt. I felt like I hadn't written anything. I was frustrated that I I wasn't able to pull from solitude the way that I used to. I was frustrated that I just didn't feel like I knew what my voice was anymore. Yeah. And I left, kind of feeling defeated in some ways. I was also really scared being alone in the woods, even though I'm a country girl. Like, I should know what that feels like, and I should be fine with it. But I was really scared sleeping alone at night. It was very dark. It was quiet. And so ultimately I left this week feeling pretty disheartened. However, after another month or so, I was reviewing bits and pieces that I'd written and realized that I actually had a lot of things that I was excited about. And half of the songs that are on the EP were totally written up there. And a lot of the original sounds from those like demos that were written up there made it to the final recording. So I guess that says a lot about how we hold these sort of feelings of self-doubt. And ultimately, they're not correct.
Who are the worst judge of our progress?
I mean, yeah, we're all pretty hard on ourselves, I think. I especially am.
What do you write on? Like, what do you take with you to go there?
So I used to write really simply with just a piano. And as I said, that I was trying to get back to that space. I brought my Nord, my keyboard, which has really good digital piano sounds, but also some other synth sounds. But the way that I'm writing now is kind of a combination of like an instrument, like the keyboard and the computer. So I brought my laptop and I used to record on Logic, but I use Ableton mostly now. I'm kind of exploring that. So it's a combination of starting just on a piano or keyboard sound and then bringing in beats and other arrangements to help push it forward.
That's nice. And that was the first time you've ever done the retreat?
Yeah, it was.
Are you around other artists, or you're like kind of separated from each other?
I was just totally by myself.
Okay.
It was something just I created. I would love to do a more formalized kind of retreat where you're like on a property and maybe have a little bit of guidance. Maybe have some sort of feedback, so I'm not totally in my head thinking that I'm sucking at everything I'm writing. Or just some sort of external stimulus I think might be good for me. But yeah, this was the first one that I've done, and it really turned out to be so fruitful that I would love to try it again. I'm actually in a period of being alone right now. I'm just for 2 weeks I'm without my band, so I've been made a little setup for myself in the basement, and I've become a creature of darkness. Make a lot of cups of tea and just like descend into the dark basement and see what comes out. It's a lot of dark sounds, actually.
That sounds good. I like dark. But you're from Massachusetts, right?
I am.
So how far is this retreat from where you grew up?
This place where I went was about an hour south of where I grew up, in the same county though, in Berkshire County. And my mom lives in South Berkshire County now, and my dad's in the town where I grew up in Williamstown.
And what was that like?
Oh, man.
I've never been.
It's beautiful. You should go. And Western Mass is really something special. It's got a lot of kind of cultural and artistic history. There's a lot of famous writers lived there, and they have these houses. Like there's the Edith Wharton house and the Herman Melville house. So there are a lot of properties that these famous writers and painters lived in and got a lot of inspiration from the surroundings. So that should tell you something about it. It's totally picturesque and beautiful. I loved growing up in Williamstown. It's a really small town, but it has Williams College, and the Clark Art Institute is this sort of famous museum, and now Mass MoCA is the Contemporary Art Museum in the next town. So there's a lot of cultural offerings, but there's no major city. It's like 3.5 hours from New York, 3 hours from Boston, 5 hours from Montreal. So it's really nestled in this little pocket. So I felt like I was, a very small town girl, but had my sights set on something bigger. But I loved it. I spent a lot of time alone growing up.
Your only child?
I have an older sister who's 6 years older.
Okay, so kind of...
Yeah, I actually read that if you have a sibling who's 6 years different, you sort of grow up as an only child.
Yeah.
I don't know. That resonated with me. I adore my sister, but I definitely had a lot of alone time growing up, and I just created whole worlds that I would play in for hours. My mom says she would look out the window and I would just be in the backyard talking to myself. I had all these characters that I would pretend to be, and so my imagination was really running wild a lot, and I think that was like a big impetus for me to write. I was writing songs and poetry from a really young age.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Were you playing an instrument early?
Yeah, I started piano when I was 6.
Okay.
Classical piano. And singing was something I did forever, but started more formally taking lessons when I was 13.
Okay. And did you like the piano as soon as you started? Did you grow to learn it? Grow to love it?
I didn't like the piano lessons.
Yeah.
I feel like probably that's a common theme, right? Does anyone like it? I never practiced. But really early on, I remember just starting to write songs on the piano and realizing that I could use it as a tool to express ideas that otherwise I was just, singing. So once I realized the potential of the piano beyond playing, classical Suzuki exercises, I was really excited, and it definitely opened this whole world for me. And a lot of fond memories of just sitting at my piano, which faced this picture window in our living room, and across the street through the window is the cemetery. Sounds really bleak and morbid, but there was something really beautiful about creating in this room that looked out onto this cemetery. That it was this beautiful cycle, I think, of creation and death, and it was all just wrapped up in one thing.
Yeah. What was the young you writing about?
Okay, so my first band I had when I was 9.
Okay.
And
good start, right?
Yeah. And we were studying ancient Egypt at the time, so we were called Pharaoh.
Okay.
And all of our songs were either about ancient Egypt or about makeup.
Okay.
We were in sort of a Valley Girl phase. It was also the Spice Girls were really big in 3rd grade, and when we were in 3rd grade, and so the songs were pretty silly. But as I reached middle school, I wrote a lot about being lonely.
Okay.
I really I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted more friends. I wanted to feel like I belonged to something bigger than myself. But as a lot of kids are, I was pretty awkward and felt like I could really express it more in song than I could just talking to people about it. And it was also around that time that my parents divorced, or they separated when I was 14. And that was a really important way for me to process that. The summer that they separated, I didn't tell anyone.
Really?
I did have friends. I had a few friends, but I didn't tell my best friend. I just didn't really know how to talk about it. But
it was so traumatic.
Yeah, it was really traumatic. It's a weird age, 14, to have that happen. And a few weeks after they told me they were separating, I went to a summer camp in Putney, Vermont, and I was studying songwriting there. And so I was writing a lot about what happened. And for the final concert, all the parents came. My parents came up and they were in the audience, and I played this really intense song called From a Broken House. And my parents... Not
a metaphor.
Yeah, right. The chorus was, I will run, run, run from this broken house. Pay no attention to your little mouse, which is just so sad. And my parents were in the audience, and they told me later that they're like, we're always so proud of you. Yeah. But that was one moment when we felt really sad and bad, because people were turning around and looking at them, but I really needed to do it, and to their credit, they were always very supportive of me writing about whatever I needed to express,
even if they're the subject of it.
Right? Yeah, and interestingly, like after that first kind of grappling, I never really wrote about it again. And it's been something that's been hard for me to address in songs until the Forma EP. Returning to the area where I grew up for this writing retreat was important for me to kind of confront some of those old feelings of sadness and loss. And so there's a line in the song Frostburn that was like, oh my God, how does the song go? I was 14 when I had to learn what it means to be an adult. Okay. It wasn't my fault. And it's something that I'm looking to do more in my music moving forward, is being a little bit more direct with the lyrics, because something I did write when I started writing songs and, when I was younger, but over the years I kind of learned to hide myself even from myself with the lyrics, and I wrote more in poetry or metaphor, and I'm kind of excited to go back to that place of staring those feelings head on and really talking about them in terms that people can understand more readily.
As opposed to maybe she means this, I'm not sure.
Which is nice too, and I don't want to, I'm not saying I want to do none of that, but I think there's room to have a mix of both, some more interpretive lyrics and some that maybe connect a little bit more clearly. When
you look back on that, does it seem surprising like that they separated?
Not at all. It wasn't even surprising at the time. Okay. It was like I knew it was coming, and I knew even then that it needed to happen, but I love family. I've always been a big family person. It means so much to me. And families are hard and continues to be, pretty difficult. But I think you find ways to make new families. And when I did finally find that group of friends that really made me feel like I belong, that was a new family for me. And now my bandmates, I really feel like I'm a part of this new tribe of people, and we're traveling the world together, and I'm spending holidays with them, and that's it's pretty nice. It's a nice reminder that we can create those realities for ourselves.
And then also that one family, you can't necessarily get everything you need.
Right.
From one family, you can have all these other families.
That's a really good point. And I feel lucky that I'm able to get different things from my different families.
It doesn't put the burden on one family.
Right. No, totally.
Did you, were you looking at a career in music? Did you know that in high school? Or what you wanted to do?
I wanted to be on Broadway, actually. That was, in high school, I was thinking about going to performing arts school. I wanted to be on Broadway. I was, of course, writing songs as well, but I wrote musicals, and I loved acting, and I loved playing characters. Yeah. And that's something that I kind of miss in playing my own music all the time, is that I'm just so transparently me, and that can be hard and get old. So last week I played at the Indie Pop Prom in Brooklyn, and part of the premise was that you would wear prom attire, and I wore my old prom dress. Okay. And playing on stage in a prom dress made me feel like I was a different character and gave me a lot of confidence and strength. So I'm thinking about doing that more. But anyways, I always wanted to be a performer, but it was when I went to college at Kenyon College in Ohio that I started focusing more on composition and songwriting, and then I was like, I have to give this a go. I got to give it a shot. And there have been many times in the past 6 years when I've wanted to give up. Sometimes I still want to give up.
What keeps you not giving up?
That's such a good question. I ask myself that all the time. Well, this is what I know and love. This is the way that I most clearly connect to myself. This is how I know me. And this is the most grounding thing in my life. This connects me with my existence, with the planet, with people. I can't imagine separating myself from that, even when it gets hard and bleak and frustrating. There's always this innate core that really roots through my whole being and keeps me going.
Yeah. And what would you be without it? Like,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a far worse
sometimes
premise.
I fantasize about being a florist. I think that I really love flowers, and not that I've ever like done anything with flowers,
nice.
but I love flowers. I think I just have this idea in my head that I would really enjoy that.
Okay.
So maybe down the line I'll find myself running a flower shop. You might find me in upstate New York with a flower shop someday. Yeah. Half Waif flowers. I like that.
So were you a kid who knew like all the Broadway shows and had all the cast albums?
Oh my gosh, I was so annoying. I just singing Rent all the time and Les Mis. I had, my group of musical theater friends, and that's pretty much all we did. I also have this really kind of sweet and sad memory of being in high school. I mean, it's no wonder I didn't have a lot of friends, but in high school, during lunch, I would bring my lunch, and then I would go into the auditorium. And, no one's in there. It's all dark. Go into the auditorium, and I would turn on the stage lights, and I would sit at the piano. And I remember being in a big Phantom of the Opera phase, and I had a book of Phantom of the Opera songs, and I would just sit in the auditorium by myself at lunch and play Phantom of the Opera songs.
As if you were.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know why more people weren't drawn to that.
Oh my gosh, I'm just remembering it all now. It was so weird that I did that, but I guess that was part of my journey to get to where I am today.
So when you go to Kent, what did you major in?
I majored in music.
Okay.
Yeah. I had 2 years to figure out a major, but I declared music within the first semester because I was like, who am I kidding? This is the thing that I love to do. But it was great. I studied music theory and composition, and was really exposed to all sorts of new kinds of music that I didn't really know before, and got more into like experimental types of sounds and composition, and really put me on sort of a new track with my songwriting.
Who were some of your like influences, or what you were listening to besides Broadway cast albums?
Well, when I was younger, in middle school, when I really started songwriting, that's when I discovered Tori Amos. And she was, my gosh, she was amazing, and piano prodigy. I wanted to be just like her. But she was also in like a metal band in the 80s. I like read her biography. I can't remember. But I just remember seeing this picture of her with like crazy big hair and big makeup. I was like, she's
Was it
so
Why Tori
cool.
Can't Read or something
like
that? Is that it?
Or was that an album?
Tori Can't, or
Tori
the title?
Yeah.
And I think it was a Y, the letter Y or something.
She's so cool, right?
I love her.
Like just, very like experimental in the way that she approached like piano balladry, which is really cool. So, she was a big influence on me growing up. Joni Mitchell, definitely. I mean, Blue, of course, is such an inspiring album, and how she uses her voice, just the timbre of it and the texture of it is really amazing and inspiring. And then in college, I was studying more. Well, I got really into 20th century composition. Kind of contemporary classical music, starting with the turn of the century with Debussy, and then Stravinsky, and then a little bit later you had Schoenberg, Berg, and Webern, all very weird and interesting serialist music, and then Steve Reich and John Cage, and that school, Philip Glass. Those are all really inspiring names for me. And now my ear is really to the ground of who's writing now and what's coming out, because I'm constantly trying to discover new ideas. I don't look to the past that much, actually. I'm really excited by what people are writing today, and I mean, there's a lot of it. There's a whole Spotify now.
Yes, more than ever.
You can get lost in it forever. But it's really so exciting to me when I come across someone new. And what's also really exciting is to be in this place where I feel like a lot of people I'm inspired by are people I know and people I'm meeting, and a lot of folks from New York and from this area. That's it's really cool to be learning from your peers, and that's been kind of a new thing in the past couple of years for me.
What did the Stravinsky and the composers, what did they bring to your music songwriting?
I think for me, a lot of it was, with Debussy, one of his big things, Debussy and Ravel came from the Impressionist school of composition, and their big thing was about using chords as tone color.
Okay.
So essentially creating these kind of swaths of tone, thinking about chords as colors. And that's something that I think about a lot when I'm writing, is wanting to inject the tonal landscape with lots of different colors.
Okay.
Like I want it to feel colorful and to feel vivid. And so I think that's something I learned from them. Stravinsky, he later, post World War I, kind of turned to neoclassicism and kind of looked back to a little bit more lighter Mozart-esque styles. But before the war, he pioneered the style of primitivism. Okay. And that's what you hear, like the Firebird, Rite of Spring. Okay. And that's a little bit like more jarring sounds. And kind of those two ideas are things that I try to think about, having these more kind of fluid, lush soundscapes interjected with more harsh and aggressive sounds. It's kind of a mixture of anger and inner reflection. Okay. So these kind of outbursts that are outward, and then these more kind of somber inner reflections.
Okay. And is the challenge, or some would say opportunity, to how do you bring that to modern pop music in which you're songwriting?
Yeah, well, for me, I've always loved pop music. Like I was talking about Spice Girls from third grade. I loved Spice Girls. No Doubt. In second grade, I asked my mom if I could go to a No Doubt concert, and she said no. But I loved Gwen Stefani. I've always loved pop music. I love a good hook, and I love writing like vocal melodies that are kind of. I try to write vocal melodies that are concise and that they're accessible and that you can sing them back. So kind of melding that and a really clear songwriting structure of, verse and a chorus, melding that with what are for me more classical kind of arrangements and instrumentation. That's how I hope to kind of bring the two together. Okay. So, if you take away the instruments and the production, maybe at the very core of it is a really simple pop song, but when you start bringing in the layers and the different instruments, it creates something a little bit more lush and experimental and interesting.
And when you have that pop hook, the strong pop hook, I mean, you can bring people in. Whatever you do with those pop hooks, you can bring people in anyway.
Yeah,
even with the complexity of the music.
Right. And that's something I've sort of gone back and forth on over the years. Is I think there was a time a few years ago when I was really looking to write music that you had to be an active listener to enjoy. I wanted to make music for other musicians, which sounds really limiting, but I think right after college, that was what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to write music that people will listen to the way that I listen to music. And I'm a musician, so I listen to it in a very specific way. And I wanted to recreate that feeling for other people. Of course, saying it now, that's totally delusional and really exclusive. So I don't know why I ever wanted to do that. But I think I retain some of the impulses to make the music interesting enough that you have to listen to it actively. Like I do want listeners to engage with it, but I also definitely don't want to exclude anyone or make them feel like I'm trying to speak a language that they can never understand or that I don't want them to understand, or that you have to belong to a certain club to understand. And I think that's where that interplay between more pop melodies and song structures comes in to make it a little bit more accessible, but also exciting.
Yeah, and why can't you have both?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I've taken to calling this music mood ring pop, and that's because it's both a mood ring in that it's moody. It covers a wide range of emotions and human experiences, but it's also a ring pop because it's kind of playful, and I don't want it to take itself too seriously. You know, these can also be fun songs. So it's a mood ring and it's a ring pop.
Okay, all at once.
Yeah, you get them both.
And after so you graduate, how far off are you from the Half Waif project?
After graduation?
Yeah, or is that your first recorded music?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2011, and Half Waif was born that year, kind of in the fall. It was actually my 5-year anniversary of my first show a couple days ago.
Okay, congrats.
Facebook told me, thank you. It was, it was February 26th, 2012 that I had my first show.
Okay.
I played solo, and
were you scared?
I was terrified. It was at Pete's Candy Store in Brooklyn, and there were like 5 or 6 people there. It was like my parents and a couple of friends. I was terrified, but I had so much fun. I remember, for me, those songs, I described them that night at the show as each song was a room in a house, and kind of trying to create like sonic architecture so that you found yourself feeling like you were in different rooms. Okay. And that concept still resonates with me today, trying to create spaces that envelop you and that house you and ultimately make you feel safe in some way.
And did you feel you had accomplished that with the early recordings?
Yeah. You know, the recording process for me has really been a journey, and I think that you can hear it when you listen back to so I've put out 2 EPs now and 2 full-length albums. Okay. This is sort of a side comment, but it'll come back around. I think that a lot of the industry these days really prioritizes newness and youngness. I guess that's not anything new. I think that the industry probably always has, but always looking for the next big thing. And because people can use the internet now and self-release much more easily, I think you can have kind of a big back catalog before you get picked up, by a label or by a kind of more widespread listenership. And I think some people kind of look down on that, which doesn't really make sense to me because, as I said, I really feel like you can hear how this project has evolved from 2012 or 2013 when I put out my first EP. And sometimes it can be embarrassing, and I listen back like, oh gosh, I put that out. But I'm really proud that, I've been writing a lot and teaching myself production, and I'm always excited to share new music. So I've released a lot of material, and the Forma EP is the first thing we've put out on a label. But, there is a back catalog there, and I think you can hear how the project has shifted and hopefully sounds more refined. Constantly trying to come towards this point of figuring out what I sound like. But I don't think I'll ever get there because I'm always changing. Yeah. And that's part of the fun of this journey that I'm on.
Is the growth from the constant touring and constant songwriting?
Is the what?
The growth from album to album.
It's from getting more adept at the technology side of it. It's from honing this craft of songwriting and trying to come up with better ways of expressing, narrative and lyrical ideas and sonic arrangements. It's from listening a lot, listening to a lot of new music, seeing a lot of live shows, and having conversations with my musician friends and my songwriter friends about what it means to be an effective storyteller.
Yeah. And did you have an intention for Forma?
Did I have an intention?
Yes.
Yes. My intention for Forma was to do as much myself as I could. In the past, I've worked with some really wonderful producers, my good friends Devin Greenwood and Zubin Hensler, and I learned a ton from them. But I've always recorded these demos on my own, and I've had a few people over the years say, like, there's something really you about these, and, you know, you should consider releasing them. And they never felt polished enough to me. But I got to the point with this EP where I thought, hey, you know what? I want to put something out in the world that does feel like it's me, and it's not polished. It's rough. The vocals were recorded on a pretty bad microphone and was recorded in my apartment, but it has a certain vibe to it that feels really true to who I was when I was recording it and writing it. So I'm really happy with how that turned out.
I just interviewed Amy Leon. I don't know if you heard her.
No.
Great project. I interviewed her yesterday. She was saying the same thing pretty much. Is that how that moment, the voice may crack. It may be, it may not be perfect, and like, what is perfect anyway, but it's real and authentic. And then next time she sings a song, it may be different. And
I honestly find that is more exciting for a listener. I used to want it to sound like I was a classically trained singer.
Okay.
You know, I was like, okay, I know how to sing. I can get this pitch right. I can get the timbre right. And now it's like, I want it to sound like I'm a human. Like, I want it to sound like I'm recording this in the moment and I'm feeling every word that I'm singing. And, you know, I still want it to sound, you know, a certain amount of refined or like, presentable. But it's so much more exciting to listen to something that feels like it has character and to feel like you can get to know the artist through the way that their voice sounds. Yeah.
And what made you decide to go with a label for this release?
Well, I actually, so another intention I had for Forma was to just put it on the internet and have no fanfare. Yeah. I had come off of, you know, self-releasing 2 full lengths and was really proud of those albums. But, you know, it's hard playing the PR game and trying to get people to listen. And I was like, ultimately, I just want the music to be out there. And if I just put it online and kind of step back, I can feel proud of it. People can listen if they want, and I can move on to the next project. So that was the plan. And then when I was halfway through recording Forma, Cassine got in touch, and they liked the last album, and they were curious to hear the new EP. So we met them. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Love their aesthetic and their vibe and their vision, and felt like, okay, maybe this can you know, have a little bit more push behind it. And it's really nice to work with a team after just doing it, you know, on our own for a few years. It feels really good to have, you know, it's that feeling of belonging that I was talking about. You know, I feel like I've found another family.
That's excellent. And where are they based at?
They're based in Brooklyn.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And you are going on like a huge, long tour.
Yes.
Till August, is that?
No, not till August. It's just till April. Okay. And then we've got some more summer dates. But we are about to leave next week. We're going to Savannah Stopover Festival in Georgia, and then making our way to South by Southwest. And we'll be doing a few shows there. And then we're doing like a headline tour in the Midwest and East Coast. Okay. Kind of promoting Forma and playing some of those songs live. And really excited to get to play for new audiences. And
you like to tour?
People. I do. It's what I do most of the time now between Half Waif and the other project that we all play in called Pine Grove. We are on the road most of the year. We left Brooklyn, we left our jobs, and now this is our life. I love the adventure of it. I love seeing new places. We were just in Europe with Half Waif, and that was our first time touring there. We're about to go to Alaska with Pine Grove. So it's really incredible that we get to see the world in this way. It's hard not having a home. As I said, I'm very like family oriented and I'm very home oriented. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a homebody. I love creating cozy spaces and being in my slippers all day. And that's just not something I can do when I'm on tour all the time. Although I do bring my slippers now with me, so that's a little
bring
piece of
some home with you.
Yeah. So I'm pretty nomadic right now, and that can be challenging in some ways, but I'm just trying to fully embrace it as this crazy time of my life, and I'm throwing everything into it.
Yeah. And it's a gorgeous album. I just want to tell you that.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so glad you like it.
Yeah. And it's like the more, this is why people are like, well, what does it take to be on the show? I'm like, well, I have to like the music. So if I'm excited about the music, it makes it even more exciting to do the interview.
That's great.
Yeah. Yes. I wish you like the best with
Thank you
the project,
so much, boys.
and best place for people to keep up online with you, get the album.
Yeah, we have halfwaif.bandcamp.com is where the music's at, and then we have our Facebook page, and then we have our website, which is www.half-waif.com. I used to have halfwaif.com, and then I forgot to renew it, and then this like Japanese pill company took it over.
Right.
So don't go to halfwaif.com, go to half-waif.com.
Okay, so there's a pill called Half Waif?
I don't know. They took it over. I don't know what happened. I'm so ashamed.
I can't even imagine what that pill,
I don't
if it is a pill,
know.
what it might do.
Yeah, I can't read it because it's in Japanese.
Okay, so go to half-waif.com.
That's right.
We don't know where that will take you. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you. This was really fun.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Frost burns off of the river, and I'm living here to see it. I had a dream and I wasn't me, and I was okay with that. Why do you occupy all of my roads? You will not let me in further than I go. It's burning me up, but I'll never let you know. Will you be okay with that? And on my island, I cannot keep out all the violence. And on my island, early December in the country, trying to remember what my mother taught me. I was 14 when I had to learn what it means to be an adult. It wasn't my fault. If I were tracing a map, would it lead me out or would it lead me back? Can I still change or am I past that? Will that be okay? And on my island, I cannot keep out all the violence. And on my island, follow you forever so you know me well. Then there's no need to really know myself. Take away the pressure, make me something new. And after a while I'll do the same for you. I try to get away, but I'm not sure what I'm after. The meaning's not the same. I don't know what I know. And you know that this isn't what I asked for.
And there you have it. 2 amazing songs from Half Waif, Night Heat. Before that, Frostburn. Amazing songs from an amazing album, Forma. I hope you enjoyed the music. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Nandi. You have to own Forma. You can get it on Bandcamp at halfwaif.bandcamp.com. I will spell that for you, HALFWAIF. And make sure you go quick because there's a limited edition vinyl. Gorgeous vinyl packaging. The vinyl is translucent, and I think this is the color, marigold. Correct me if I'm wrong, but marigold. Gorgeous packaging. You get the whole beautiful vinyl experience with lyrics, gorgeous photo, the whole kit and caboodle. And I want to shout out the other members of Half Waif who perform live with Nandi, Zach Levine on drums and electronic percussion, and Adon Carlo on electric bass. I am online several places, several ways. TalkMusicTalk.com for more information on this very podcast. My personal website is thisisvoice.com for more information on my music that I make and the novels that I write. If you are on Instagram, please follow me at thisisvoice, and you get to see pictures of all of my amazing guests. Don't forget your call to action. Download the Talk Music Talk app. It is free for Android and iPhone, wherever you get your apps. Or if you prefer, you can subscribe on iTunes or Google Play. And if you are on iTunes, it is especially important if you leave a rating and or review to help spread the word about the show. You can also find Talk Music Talk on Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and loads of other places. And once you download or subscribe, I have a back catalog suggestion for you. Episode number 46 with Roni's Insomnia. It is the solo project of Roni Korkos. If you love the music of Half Waif, you will love the music of Roni's Insomnia. You will get to hear some music in this conversation, in that episode. Again, that's episode 46 with Roni's Insomnia. Thank you so much for listening. Till next time, and there will be a next time. This one's for you, Liz.